Hello, and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan, and with me today we have CJ Somavia of Hothead Collective. How are we doing, CJ?
Great, dude, and you nailed it. Well done.
Fucking did it. Fucking did it. So for those that may not know who you are, who the heck are you?
My name's CJ, as you said. I run this little thing called the Hothead Collective, which is just me, but it's a collective because all the stuff I put out, it's never just me, you know, how a lot of these things go. It's like always a group of really cool people that I pull together to like make something awesome happen. The main thing that we're probably going to talk about and the thing that has like been popping off lately is this magazine I produce called Glaive, which you have. Yeah. So Glaive is like this lifestyle magazine that I have run issue 2, working on issue 3 right now. It's my attempt at like bringing a Thrasher type magazine to the like gaming space. So it's like not a lot of gaming content. It's a lot of like talking about how we play our games, like what's happening in our community, like what's happening in our gaming cultures, that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting space to have a thing like that because it feels like a what did we say at PAX? It feels like like a culture magazine or like a game, like a magazine, as you said, about games, but not games themselves, really, which is awesome. Because I mean, you got, I assume these are Hive Scum hands on the front.
Yeah, those are Hive Scum hands
of the first.
So that's
one.
issue 1. Yeah.
Gotta have the mummy in there.
Well, and you have to shout out the giraffe on the back too, though. the Kip Ash on the back is amazing.
Yeah. Is that's Evangelion, right?
I don't know what those guys put it together while we were doing our little interview for that, so they had to throw it on the back. But yeah.
So no, wait. Let's go to gaming, culture magazine for games. Where did this take me back to the beginning? What was your first game, and how did we get here?
My first game ever. You know what I think? Like my first. So obviously we're both like deep in the ttrpg, like wargaming, that kind of stuff, but the magazine's like more than that. You know, the magazine is trying to bring together music, like craft, like, you know, when it comes to like the kind of independent wargaming side, like painting, kit bashing minis, all that kind of stuff, but also bringing in like video games and stuff like that too. So it's not like just about role-playing games, but my hope is that the sort of like disparate cultures that I am like really passionate and into all come together to create this like coherent vibe and a community where we all like can relate with all of those different things, you know. So like I would say my first game, if we're going back, is like RuneScape. You know, that was like my growing up type vibe, which I think is like, I feel like it kind of hits this same vein that leads to OSR, like RPGs and like Inc. 28 wargaming and stuff. Yeah, so like there's that, you know, we did an article about like dungeon synth in the first issue. This new issue has an article about like jungle music from the 90s and how it like permeated all of our favorite like video games from the 90s and like where that came from and that kind of thing. The second issue also has like an article on LAN parties and like what happened to LAN parties, how, you know, our current age of like Discord has basically erased like the concept of LAN parties and what we've lost because of that. So I think like all of these types of things, from what people have told me, like reading the magazine, like relate to people that are in these like TTRPG spaces that, you know, we're more probably deeply involved in, but still like all of that is a part of like a larger independent gaming culture that I want to highlight in this magazine. So that's kind of what led to like the topics and all that kind of stuff. And then the like point of it being like a lifestyle magazine is that there are a lot of people putting out a lot of really cool games and a lot of really cool like supplements for games and adventures for games and stuff like that. And when I decided I wanted to do this thing, I didn't want to just like add on to the pile of already like dust collecting like systems and supplements that are on your bookshelf. You know, like we have enough of those already. Like the point of the magazine was to be something different. And so and you know, growing up like Thrasher was something that as a kid like informed the way I dressed and the things that I thought and like the kind of taste I developed around music and what was cool and what was interesting and what I wanted to do as a kid, you know. So I wanted to provide like a similar outlet in our community, which I think has like begun to be just as like punk and counterculture as like skateboarding used to be. And you know, so providing that kind of like platform for us to kind of consume that style of content as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really successful. The first one, they're both fantastic. The second one does lean more into the video game side and everything, which is much more Hunter's purview than mine. I wasn't a
Sure.
huge video gamer when I was younger. Um, but one of the things that I like about it is, we've lost third spaces, really,
Yeah. Yeah.
and for people that don't know what third spaces are, it's like something that's not home or work. It's a third place that you could be, and that used to be
Mhm.
places where a lot of this stuff would happen: LAN parties, skate parks, the fucking mall. I remember digging
Yeah.
change out of my pocket, my seats in the car, so I could just go to a trip at the mall. And I don't know, Glaive to me, and so much of it now, we've even lost a lot of forums. We
Mhm.
can say there's a lot of blogs out there. There's a lot of, they exist, they are there. Um, but outside of Discords, and I don't know if you're like me, I got like 45 and they're all muted. I don't feel like there's as many spaces for this kind of thing, to have these kind of conversations about our hobby, not the, like you said, not, it's not supplemental, it's not, you're not selling this stuff. Like the interview with Hive Scum isn't like to sell something, it's to like talk with people. And I really like it. This feels like almost like an imprint third space to me, where we can like all bullshit about the same kind of stuff that's going on with us, not the stuff we're doing. And that's the thing that I really, really enjoy about it.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. Yeah, the third space thing is like really sad. Because like it's funny in the first editor's note in the first issue, I hit on that Discord thing where it's like, you know, we've supposedly created all of these digital third spaces that are like all of these Discord servers that you're a part of. But obviously it's not working because all of mine are muted too, right? And like it where you know it used to be maybe you would go to this third space like in New York City and you'd be like a part of like New York City. Now it's like there's like 4 New York City gaming club discords and none of them like it like cross communicate, you know. There's like this club uptown, this club in Brooklyn, this club here, this club there. And it's like, what happened to being like a larger community, you know? And so like in the first editor's note, I basically say like that exactly. I'm like, Discord's cool. Like it's really amazing that we can just DM anybody and get in contact. Like us even doing this is via social media. Like it's obviously useful, but I think what it's also pointing towards, which is also like a loss of third space thing, is we're consuming a lot of like gaming content, but I don't think we're like playing a lot of games. You know, like we're turning into this very like commodity driven industry. And like you're saying, you know, there's like nothing in the magazine other than like a few like ads which are more like vibe setting than they are like selling something. You know, I'll like allow somebody to put in like an advertisement, but it's like just a really cool art spread that like Dave Hoskins does for Exalted Funeral. It's not like look at this new release. I don't let anybody do like look at this new release if they put an ad in there, because I'm like, this needs to be like I don't want you to pull the readers out of the magazine. Like if I put you in the magazine, I'm endorsing you as like a tastemaker in the industry. And if you're in the magazine, you're endorsing the magazine as like, something worth buying, right? So that's what I see like advertisements for. But you're right, like the magazine, it's $15, which even in like commercial magazine space nowadays, like magazines have kind of either gone like you only have the giants, which you find at like every store, like Men's Health or whatever, that's like whatever. Or you have these like coffee table magazines that are like $50. They're thick. They're just like art books at this point. And it's like not, not the vibe that the magazine was going for. I wanted something to be like incredibly accessible and just a slice of what's happening and not something that's trying to cram more stuff down your throat that you need to like buy and keep you from playing games.
And speaking of that too, it doesn't come. I'm a PDF guy. I'm not gonna lie. I love physical media, but
Yeah.
when we're doing reviews for the show, I almost always use PDFs because I like to zoom in on.
Yeah.
There's too many words across the spread. My brain, but there's no PDF
Totally.
for this, which I assume, and tell me if I'm wrong, speaks to that whole concept of like get off your fucking computer, read the fucking magazine.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. It's like get off your fucking computer, go play like Magic with your friends, and then put this like on the table next to you, and in between, like as the pod's resetting or whatever, you like flip to the page and like chill out and like point like with your friends, be like, "Yo, look at this. This is cool," or whatever, right? Yeah, 1,000%. I also like my folder on my computer for PDFs is like drowning in stuff I've opened like maybe once, if ever, and will never open again, you know? Um, which I think people have like this similar problem with like physical media, but I think the magazine like fills a different spot. Like you can put the magazine on your coffee table and like normies who come to your house can be like, "Oh, what is this? Interesting." Where if you put like Swivers on your coffee table, like they have no frame of reference for like what is happening in that book, right? Where the magazine is an attempt to also kind of bridge that gap between like people who have no idea what's going on. They've maybe heard of like Critical Role or whatever. They have no idea what that means, but then they can pick this up and be like, "Oh, like this is what these people are talking about," because it's not like just gaming supplements. It's like, look at this cool festival that just happened in Connecticut by like Under the Dice Fest.
Right.
So yeah, it's trying to fill that niche as opposed to like more just like gaming content.
Yeah. And it does. It's really cool. There's been a lot of. We talked about this kind of at PAX a little bit. Oh, we got to talk about PAX too.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of really cool zines and magazines and stuff coming out. A lot of really great stuff. But I do feel like Glaive is different for that reason. It's not like a collection of even essays or anything like that. It does feel like a culture magazine, which is really, really cool. So right before we got started, you were talking about what you like your day job, quote unquote, and like how that gets you kind of to the magazine as well. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the thing that I say on like most podcasts, which is probably going to get annoying if anybody's like listened to all the like the 3 podcasts I've done or whatever, is that like this is a magazine, it's not like a zine, right? And zine culture is like really sick and an integral part of our DIY community. But again, it's like one of those things where a lot of people are making really fantastic, dirt cheap, not in a bad way, in like an accessible way, staple bound, like little digest size zines that are really, really cool. But like Glaive is not that, it's like a glossy, perfect bound, 100+ page magazine. Yeah, it's like a magazine that you remember when you hear the word magazine. And so I wanted to make that because, as I said, like with Thrasher and stuff like that, like these were cheap, essentially like temporary almost things, right? Like when you would get like a copy of Thrasher, you'd like tear out the page with like the sick kickflip and put it on your wall, right? Like I don't think anybody's doing that with Glaive, but the point is that that's like a thing you can do with Glaive, is like rip out your like favorite art page and like put it on your corkboard and like look at it and stuff, because it's like cheap enough that you can do that. But yeah, so I work in like the film and photo industry in New York City, so I'm a production manager, like all of the behind the scenes stuff. I worked in like feature films and all that kind of stuff too, so all the behind the scenes stuff, like the kind of lifeblood of making those things happen, is what I like deal in. And so New York City still is like the last kind of New York City and LA are like the last bastions of like production for like editorial magazines and stuff like that. So I work like in the magazine industry from that direction, like helping produce all of that stuff. And so that like production side of my brain, I think is kind of made for magazines, because what Glaive is a me reaching out to all my favorite bloggers and game designers and artists and people in these spaces and being like, hey, I want to pay you to write about your favorite XYZ, right? I want you to write about like in this issue 3 that's coming up, somebody was like, yo, I DM'd on mushrooms. Like, I'm like, yeah, tell me about that, right? Like, I want you to write an article about DMing on mushrooms. I want to see your insane like DM notes from when you DM'd on mushrooms, and I'm going to pay you to put that in this magazine. And so like, I can kind of be like the shot caller, being the like editor of this magazine, because I do write like some of it. I do all the graphic design, but I mainly edit other people's work, because what I want the magazine to be is a platform for me to get all of these different communities together and be like, hey, you writing about this, let me introduce you to this artist who's going to like draw, the characters that were in your whatever, then you're like the time you DM'd on mushrooms or whatever, right? So it's like bringing these things together, giving it a platform for everybody. And I just really, the producer side of me really enjoys that side of it, of like being the shot caller and being able to platform all these cool people.
Are you a lifetime DM, or are you more of a player?
I'm a definitely lifetime DM.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah,
say you're
definitely.
basically like DMing a magazine right now,
Yeah,
is what
yeah,
it
yeah,
what it
yeah.
feels like. I mean, that's all
Oh,
producing is. You're just putting all
completely.
the pieces together and put it all together. So
Yeah.
I'm unsurprised that you said that. Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
lifetime DM. Um, so you said you did a lot of stuff with production side of it. How did your day job also help get you to this? Did you have like magazine connects? Did you have to start from
No,
scratch making it look this nice, or like how did that?
no, but what's working in production teaches you is that because what I love about what I do like in my day job is that no project is like ever the same. My job is to put out fires like whenever they come up, and those fires are everything from like which, working in New York City in this industry is, you can be as crazy as, you know people think it is, like, but like booking fucking massage, on set massage therapists for some like bougie diva, right? Like that's part of my job just as much as it is like finding somebody to repair like a broken film camera, right? So like this industry has taught me to be able to essentially improvise solutions to every problem, because my job is the the logistics behind this stuff is everything from setting up tables for catering for like 100-person crew, as it is sourcing like a vintage sports car to rent for the day. So essentially what I'm trying to say is I had no idea how to produce a magazine from the like actually print run production, putting it into circulation. But I know how to like solve problems, and I know how to find those things. And we live in an age where like everything is on the internet and will tell you how to do these things, or will connect you with people on how to do these things. You just have to like exercise your free will and send the emails, right? Like Glaive is mainly distributed through retail stores. We have 20 retailers across like 5 different countries, right? And that has started from issue 1. Like issue 1 was already in multiple countries. And that was really important to me, because in this third space idea, right? These retail stores, especially game stores, are some of the last third spaces we have. And if you're not supporting those spaces, they're just going to disappear, and it's tough, because even incredible sites like Exalted Funeral and stuff like that, which are like these online spaces, which, aren't third spaces, just like online retailers, but they're cool and they support all this independent stuff, but they don't offer what like your local friendly game store, right, offers. Um, so yeah, so like over half of my sales are to retailers because I want people to go to their local store and walk in and pick up the magazine and flip through the pages and be like, yes, I want to buy this. It's only $15. I want the kid to walk into the store with their mom and be like, Mom, I want to buy this. And she's like, oh, that RPG is like $45. But he picks up this like crazy looking magazine with like an insane baby doll kit bash on the front and be like, oh, Mom, let me buy this. And she's like, oh, it's $15. Sure, let's buy it. And then that kid hopefully is like, like transforms when they read some insane thing by one of our awesome, contributors, and gets like tapped into what this community is actually about, which is like the crazy shit we're doing with our friends. Like Chow Clips, who was like a really sick artist in like the TTRPG space. He did a comic from his sessions playing Wolves Upon the Coast. And it's this like dope comic spread where they like blast the brains out of like a fish and stuff. And it's just like, I want like some kid. My dream is some kid at like 10 years old picks up this magazine and is like, what is going on in here? And then puts in like the legwork to look up this stuff and be like, oh, wow, there's this like world that's doing these things. So yeah, so I think that answered your question, but yeah.
Listen, this is the Weekly Stroll podcast. We just let the ADHD go. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I love it.
Let it rip. Let it rip.
But yeah, so you were talking about someone reaching out about an article for deeming on mushrooms. Since since issue 1 especially.
Yeah.
How did you source the articles in issue 1 versus now that you're kind of on 3? Has it changed, like reaching out versus being reached out to?
Yeah, so kind of in line with where I was going, I guess, with that last one is which I guess I didn't fully answer the question, but it lines up with this. So I didn't have a network at all established before issue 1, right? I've been in the kind of community via putting out like other kind of small things. I used to stream on Twitch. So there were like some kind of producers in this community that I had slightly started conversations with, but nobody like I didn't really have a foot in the door. So essentially what I did was just cold DM and cold email fucking everybody. So like to line up all those retailers, I think I emailed like close to 500 game stores all over the world and just cold emailed them. And I got like maybe 20 emails back out of the like 500 or whatever that I sent, or like 300, whatever it was, right? A very small percentage of the cold emails I sent actually resulted in people stocking the magazine, but I just kind of brute forced my way into it because I just hit up fucking everybody. And I had, the beginning spreads of the magazine and we're like, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. Would you like to stock this magazine? And like, only like 20 people got back. But that's like the point, right? Is like you have to put in that work to see the fruits come out of that. And so in the same way with the first issue, I had a bunch of like dream blog writers and other creatives in the space that I was like, I fucking love how they write, what they talk about, what they're tapped into. I think they would write a really cool article about this, right? So like, for example, issue 1 and 2 have had Micah Anderson doing a kind of system agnostic setting called The Wastes of Lakar. And he has designed some really sick modules in the past, right? Like he's done some really cool stuff. And so I just reached out and was like, yo, do you want to design something for the magazine? And he said yes. So it's been a lot of that, of just like reaching out to people and I guess, again, like exercising that free will of like, you're basically not going to get a yes unless you're willing to get a no, which means you have to talk to these people and reach out. And so I just DM'd as many people as I could and was like, a lot of it was like, I have an article idea I want you to write. You're like an expert in this thing. So can you please write an article for the magazine and I'll pay you, to write an article. For example, like in issue 2, the LAN party article, Merritt K, who wrote it, I basically was like, I literally was just Googling like LAN parties. Has anybody talked about LAN parties? And she put out a book called LAN Party. That's this really amazing, like beautiful hardcover book that is just full of like photos from old LAN parties. And I figured out where, I could DM her on Instagram and was like, hey, do you want to write about LAN parties in the magazine? And she was like down for it. So It's a lot of that. And then now to like moving on to issue 3, I do have people like reaching out to me and being like, hey, this magazine's really cool. I want to like, hey, if you have anything, you know, if you're looking for contributors, let me know. Or somebody comes in there like, yo, I have this article that I've been sitting on. I think this is a good space for it. For example, in issue 2, there's like the Roblox article, which is like so funny to me that there's a Roblox article in there. Um, it's fucking funny. It's like, it's one of those things where I kind of was like, is this too far? But I think everybody who's read it like gets why it's in the magazine, because it's like, yo, these kids are doing crazy shit on Roblox. It's really funny. And he was like, I'm sitting on this article about Roblox. Like, do you think there's a spot for it? And I was like, absolutely. Like, write it. Let's go. And yeah, so now to answer your question, it's like a mix. I still reach out to people. I also have like a list of people who have contributed before, so I can hit them up again and be like, yo, let's write something else. And I have people reaching out to me who want to contribute, which is like really cool.
And then how frequently are you trying to put these out? Do you have a schedule, or do you is it when it's fucking done, it's done kind of thing?
Uh, I have a schedule because I need a schedule to function in my life. But I've never hit the deadline. So it's quarterly, quote unquote. So that's looking at 4 issues a year. I think this last issue was like a month off. This next issue is probably going to be like a month off. Just like I haven't really like locked in the kind of between sending to printers and getting from printer and getting to retailers and then announcing it's out, like that kind of thing is I'm still like locking in, you know. It's still a struggle for me, but I also like don't care so much about, you know, like it's fine. I'm not like stressing about hitting deadlines. um it's just gonna get better, you know. It's just gonna get better.
Yeah, I mean, issue 1 is fantastic. You could definitely see a progression in issue 2, where there was a little bit
Yeah.
more just expansion of obviously the style of content that you're putting in there, because you don't have Roblox and LAN parties in issue 1. There's definitely a little bit of a lean into video games, which I think
Mhm.
is really great. Again, it's not a tabletop role playing game magazine. It's a
Yeah.
hobby magazine, and a lot of the people in
Yeah.
those spaces happen to cross over into a lot of these hobbies,
Completely.
which again is really neat. Is there a focus on number 3 the same kind of way? Are you trying to spread it a little bit more? Are you trying to spread the wings all out in the beginning couple like year, and then kind of focus in on, or what's kind of
I
the
think issue 2 was closer to the mark of what I was hoping for Glaive to be, which was like a wider net, capturing like my hope is it's a gaming magazine, right? Not like a tabletop role play, like not a ttrpg magazine or just like tabletop magazine. It's a gaming magazine, and I guess for both sides, for people who pick it up and are interested in reading about like the gaming stuff, my hope is that they then are introduced to the tabletop stuff. My hope is that the people who open up and read about the tabletop stuff can tap into like what's happening in the gaming stuff. Most people who pick up the magazine are tapped into both, you know, or are interested in both already. But my hope is that it's like a larger gaming magazine. So issue 2 is like more the kind of scatter shot of what I'm hoping for it to be. I think just naturally it's gonna ebb and flow between the two, you know, different. Some maybe the next issue might be more back to tabletop. Maybe another issue I get, you know, some more people involved who are, you know, more in like the video game side. Um, but you know, the tough job for me is honing the articles in a way where they don't alienate the other side, you know, where they are kind of hitting on both things. That's the tough part as the editor, I guess, is making sure that I don't, you know, weave too far in one direction. Which I guess the trick to doing that is just, which is how the magazine started, is just trusting my own taste and like what I like, you know, because that's really, I think the trick for all of this stuff is you just make something that you want to read. And you know, spoiler, you're not as unique as you think you are, and there's a bunch of other people who want to read the same thing, you know.
Yeah, I think that's I mean, you can say that about a lot of stuff, you know, where we don't need to go deeply into, the loss of
Let's go deep.
hobbyism.
No.
Yeah, just the commodification of like
Yeah.
and of every single aspect and moment of our life. So hobbies become
Hmm.
money making schemes, because thank you capitalism.
Yeah.
But I think there really is a distinct change when you go from making what you want to make and selling it to making something to sell.
Hmm.
Um, and staying on the more genuine side of that line where you're like, I'm doing this and it's cool if it sells, is always going to feel like a better project because you're doing what you
Yeah.
want to do and what speaks to you, not what you hope speaks to people. And that's when you start getting that scatter shot. So yeah, I mean, Glaive 2
Yeah.
still feels like that. We'll check in once a year and be like, so how was the last year of Glaive?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so PAX, we were at PAX U.
Hmm.
Was that how many times was that your first PAX? Have you been
That
before?
was my so so that was my second PAX. Although my first PAX, uh, I didn't get badges in time, and I was like, oh, they sell them at the door. Um, so me, my wife, and our roommate went to PAX. We walk into the where they sell the badges, and they're like, "Oh no, we're sold out. Like, there's no badges for today." And that was like the one day we are gonna go because Philly's like an hour and a half to 2 hour drive from New York. So we just like drive up for the day, do our thing. They didn't have any badges, and I like needed to get in because I was meeting. This was like the reason I was going is this is right before issue 1 was coming out. And I was doing that thing where I was starting to network and the magazine wasn't out yet, but I was like, hey, I'm going to make this really cool thing. I swear it's going to be really cool. But I didn't have like a magazine, you know? So it was like this kind of weird thing. And I was meeting the like Exalted Funeral team for the first time. So I needed to get into PAX, but I didn't have a badge. So we we sat outside of the venue and just waited for people to leave. And we're just like, hey, are you done for the day? Can I buy your badge? And essentially, like a group of like 3 or 4 kids with their dad like rolled out. And I basically went up to these kids and I was like, hey, I'm promise I'm not a fucking weirdo. Can I buy the badges off of you? And they all like look up at their dad and he's like, you know, it's like I understood how sketchy the situation was, but they were like, I was like, I promise I'll Venmo you right now, like full price. This was when there was like 2 hours left for the day, right? It was like a fucking waste of money for me, right? But there was like 2 hours left. I was like, I'll pay you full price for these badges. So you'll get like the badges for free, essentially. The dad like sketchily accepted my Venmo, and then they just like handed us the badges. Then we like sprinted in, and I like found the Exalted Funeral booth, like met Tiger Wizard and those guys for the first time. Um, Went to like the open gaming space and tried to pretend like this was worth our money, and then left like 2 or 3 hours after. So that was my first PAX experience. The one that just happened was far more civilized. We like got our badges ahead of time. I learned from my mistake, and yeah, so this was my second year at PAX.
There you go.
Yeah.
And so my assumption is obviously you were probably bouncing around in there, meeting a lot of people. Were you? Is that kind of the I guess primary reason you went? Like, were you trying to still network a lot more, or just trying to meet people you've met through the magazine? Like, what was your PAX experience like? Like, why you went and how it felt for you?
Yeah, those things for me are just like meeting up with people. Got to meet a lot of new people. Got to meet up with people I've now met and want to develop like relationships with because they're cool people. So like, you know, when you go to these things, if they're around, you want to give a hug and say hey and just be like, hope you're chilling and living life, you know. This time was like a lot more of the full PAX experience. I don't know how deep you want to go in it, but like I hadn't realized like there's like some like industry after party stuff that happens at PAX that gets like really crazy. That was like fun to experience and like overwhelming. There's like for those who don't know, like the main hotel where everybody stays is like connected to the venue space by like a tunnel. So everybody basically funnels out of PAX to this hotel, and like all of the who's who and like the industry are there, just like drinking at like the hotel bar. And it's like absolutely insane, just like a total nightmare. But it was like weird. Like you walk in and you grab a drink next to like Ginny D and like all of these like fucking, you know, like big like tabletop people, and you're like, what, where the fuck am I, like what is going on right now? Which was fun, so I did that little thing. um and then just hung out with friends. Yeah, I just got to connect with friends and chill. But yeah, my reason for going to PAX is just like meeting up with people. I think like a booth could be cool in the future, but we're not there yet. It's not a thing.
I mean, put your name on now because you got like 3 years before they'll look at you. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah, it just
Yeah.
gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the reason I go. This is my second year going. I worked with for Adam from World Champ Games last year because he wasn't there, but he actually got to be there
Yeah.
this year. It was cool. Got to hang out the entire time. But it all comes down to it's fun to work it's fun to work. It's not. Uh, um, it is fun to be there, and I love Adam's stuff, so it's very easy to talk about their games. But it's definitely the meeting people. Like we
Yeah.
definitely touched base through. God, I don't even know where I found you for. A little tip for everyone: make yourself easy to find on the internet. Because I think my first encounter with you at all as a human being is your stuff in the Violence Collection 2.
I got it
Yes.
ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And you did not make yourself easy to find through that.
No,
I think I
I
found
did
your
not.
private personal Instagram before I found Hothead Collective. Before I found Glaive. Reached out, and here we are.
Mm. Yeah, which is kind of funny. Like, I talked about this with the Hive Scum guys a little bit. I don't think we talked about it in the interview that we did, but uh, there's kind of, I don't know, maybe this is just me being like stupid, but there's kind of for me like a little bit of charm of like having to like look up stuff about somebody to like figure out who they are. Like having to kind of do a little bit of a hunt, like weeds out the people who like don't really care. Maybe there's just an excuse for me to say that like for why it's hard to find my shit. But I don't know. Some of the when I'm on the internet, I love like having like 7 tabs where you like rabbit hole until you find like the original thing, and then you're like, oh, you feel really like rewarded when you find that like OG blog post. Um, like and you had to like Wayback Machine to find like the OG blog post that like everybody's talking about. I don't know. That shit's kind of fun to me, but
Way back, the rules allied. Is that what we're talking about?
yo, I literally was talking about Rules Allied. That's so funny.
Yeah. No, I got
You could read it on my
Uh,
face. It's so
uh,
funny. Oh my god.
I didn't do the same thing and then download the PDF or export it into Google Docs so I could save it.
No, absolutely not. We would never do that.
Because you
We would never.
gotta be able to argue why it's
Yeah.
the way it is. But
It's so funny.
well, just so you know, that is the quest I had to go on. So it succeeded.
I
And
caught it before it got taken down, luckily. But yeah. I
oh
can't
no,
believe you literally. Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'm just still. It's so funny that you were talking about Rules Alive because I literally was talking about Rules Alive.
yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah.
But no, my quest was to find you. That's exactly what
Yeah.
happened. I did have to hit like 5 different channels, find the Hothead Collective website, which is also great, by the way. Is a nice collection of stuff on there.
Well, yeah. So, I guess we can actually talk about then like Hothead Collective. Like, it didn't start as Glaive, right? So originally, which I've totally dropped the ball on, which I hope is fine because I'm doing the magazine now. But at first, it was like an outlet for a newsletter that I was putting out. Which was one of many newsletters now in the space where I was just highlighting like all my favorite blog posts and stuff. Like I would basically highlight like my favorite YouTube, like a YouTube video I'd found that's really cool that people should check out. Favorite blog post that I think like people should check out. And then like usually like it might be like a podcast episode or like a book or something. But every week I'd put out like my like top 3 like resources that people should check out that like I personally were like curating that I thought were cool. Because I got into like TTRPGs and all this kind of stuff like fairly recently in the grand scheme of things. Like COVID, basically I'd been into like D&D and stuff before COVID, but COVID's when like the OSR wrapped its tentacles like around my neck and like pulled me into the deep end. And I basically spent like all of my free time during the pandemic just ingesting as much as I could about this like specific side to the hobby. And so I wanted an outlet to kind of be excited about all that kind of stuff. So I just started like curating my favorites from that. So if you go to like the website, you'll find a long like post history of all of those newsletters that are just has become like a library of all of my favorite like shit from the internet.
Yeah. Like I said, after I found your private Instagram, that's what I found, and I was definitely digging through that for a while. And it also looks great. The your design stuff is good. It is good
Thank
stuff.
you. I
I
appreciate it,
appreciate
man.
it. Um, but just drop that there. We'll make sure it's the internet. The links will be where you
Mhm.
expect them at the end of the episode. For
Yeah,
those watching. But I guess at what point, we hit it, so we'll go back to the beginning. At what point
sure.
did Hothead Collective shift into Glaive? At what point were you like, I like this stuff, but now I want it in the physical media?
So the first thing, so I was streaming on Twitch. Um, I was in kind of the D&D space on Twitch. That kind of community over there is a lot of like world building, a lot of like D&D 5e homebrewing, that kind of stuff is like pretty popular there, actual plays obviously, but like the part of it that's not actual plays is like a lot of people like homebrewing and designing stuff and that kind of thing. And so I was doing that and getting connected with people doing that. And then the first like release from Hothead Collective was this thing called Grand Rituals, which is this little thing which is very hard to, it like doesn't exist anywhere anymore. Exalted Funeral put it out, but it's like a system agnostic rule set for like large scale rituals. So it gives you kind of like a format and like a little like template for designing these like large scale rituals that turn into like adventures where basically all the different pieces of the ritual are kind of like MacGuffins that you have to find, and there's like different stuff like that. So we put out this like grand rituals thing. I say we, it was me and this other content creator guy, IDBN, who's like a really great game designer guy in that space. So we did that thing. That was like the first Hothead Collective release. um but quickly, I stopped streaming on Twitch because when I get into this kind of stuff, I can't really like kind of half do stuff. Yeah, I have to like 1,000% do it, which is both a blessing and a curse, where it's like if I'm doing something, it needs to be the thing that I'm like putting out into the world and trying to turn into like something. And to do that on Twitch nowadays, like even just
Impossible.
like yeah, but even like the D&D side, like not even talking about that side of it, which we probably shouldn't talk about, but it's it's like over. Like to be able to do that and have like a normal life, or like it's just not accessible anymore. It's like not a thing. So I didn't want to spend all my days, like I didn't want to stream for 10 hours and then spend another 10 hours cutting clips and chasing algorithms. And like for me, I couldn't just stream. Like I needed to do the whole thing. And so I quickly realized like that's not the kind of creative outlet I wanted to do. We already talked about why I don't want to do like more supplements and systems and stuff. Like the Grand Rituals thing was really fun. And when it comes to all this stuff, I always want to do something different. And so for that, it was like definitely want to be like a system agnostic thing. Like, that's now very common, but something different. And so we did that. It was fun. And then I was like, okay, I want to do something different. Let's do something different. And that's where like Glaive started kicking around in my head. Uh, Kind of from, I think, also that curation that I enjoy with like the newsletter. Glaive became like a new outlet for that, but I also just didn't want to curate the same thing everybody else is like talking about. I wanted to do something different. And so, all of that ends up being Glaive. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're fucking doing it, man.
Yeah.
You know,
It's happening. Yeah, it's happening. Um,
it's hard to do stuff, especially in this
yeah.
space. I know people make things, people put stuff out, people produce stuff, but I can tell you there's probably about a million times more that's just sitting in Google Docs and hanging out. I mean, I've been in this space
Yeah.
for a long time, and I just put out like the ashcan of my very first thing,
Mhm.
which is
Oh,
neat. So
wait.
to actually
I
have
have it somewhere. Oh, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I haven't even announced that on like this. Announced it as if it's fucking anything.
oh, should I
Uh,
not show it? Should
oh,
I
you
not show it?
can. Yeah, the first time it's gonna be on stream. I made a fucking game. There it is.
Do, do, do,
Woo.
do, do.
Death cut in stone. It is
Yes.
this is what's funny too is this is a little connection between us as well.
Yeah.
It is a skirmish game. It's a super quick, brutal skirmish game based on Luke Gearing's Violence.
Hmm.
Um, and again, that was kind of like our first connection is
Yeah.
your art trash, right? In
Yeah.
Violence too. So neat little
Crossover.
mashup
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
I'll put that where you can expect to find it on the internet. That'll come out the rest of the way by the end of the year. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about Glaive and the future of Hothead Collective as well. I know we've been chatting a little bit on the internet and being like, when are you gonna do this? When are you gonna do
Yeah.
that? Like, when's the
Yeah.
next merch drop? Because is the Glaive
Mhm.
T-shirt? Oh, it's in the other room. Is it sold out now? What's the plan with all that?
No, we're not sold out yet. I think so. Yeah. So Hothead Collective right now is Glaive. What I want to do with Hothead Collective is continue to be like a lifestyle focused thing. Which is what I want to try to do is put out stuff that kind of merges that gap between our like everyday lives and the hobbies that we love. And so I don't so you mentioned the shirt. We put out our first like not magazine thing, which is like a logo tee. Um so it's like got the Glaive logo, whatever. It's like a really simple thing, but it was like a first attempt at like putting out shirts and stuff, which was cool. But I do want to start putting out like, you know, more shirts in the future, get artists to do cool stuff. I think a lot of like gaming adjacent like fashion stuff is just like, to be frank, like kind of
Trash.
shitty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's hot
it's
garbage.
like not
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
And you know, I think a lot of actually in like the Inc. 28 like wargaming like side is actually really sick. And you know, giving like more options for people, giving like artists more of a chance to make like cool stuff. This brand that I'm really into that I think is doing this across a few different like cultures and communities is Brain Dead. I don't know if you know the brand Brain Dead. So it's like they're not like, it's funny because they're dipping into like gaming stuff. Um, but they are like, they're just like a streetwear brand, but they, for example, they collaborate with like Magic the Gathering, put out probably the coolest Magic the Gathering merch you'll ever buy is from this brand called Brain Dead. They also had a secret lair with Magic the Gathering. So they've like firmly started planting themselves in the gaming space. And what they try to be, and it's something I'm a big fanboy of Brain Dead, so I'm gonna yeah. So so let me talk about them.
Go for it. Yeah.
They want to make merch for our hobbies. That's like their kind of design goal is they want to make like the band tees for our hobbies and stuff. So they don't just make like gaming stuff. They make stuff for tennis is like another hobby they're really into. It's basically the guy who runs it, Kyle, he basically is just making merch for all the stuff he likes to do. So they make like rock climbing merch, like, and it's not just rock climbing shirts and stuff. It's like they have rock climbing shoes, like the chalk bags, like all that kind of stuff. They host like rock climbing events. They're really tapped into like events as well. They do a bunch of commander tournaments. The other thing is he's really into tennis. So they put out like tennis rackets and tennis stuff. He's and then he's also into Magic the Gathering. So they run a bunch of like commander tournaments. They own a movie theater, so they have like commander pods at their movie theater. And they are tapped in enough to have Magic the Gathering like official merch. They did a D&D one too, which is actually kind of sick, but I don't think it was sold very well, so they just like stopped doing the D&D stuff. But they've also, which was so funny because it was like right when issue 1 was about to come out, they put out their like brain zine, which is their Glaive basically. But they did like one of them and it was like, whatever. I think Glaive was way better, but I don't know if they're going to keep doing it. But they did like their kind of like gaming zine, which is cool. But anyway, so Brain Dead, that idea of like creating merch around a hobby lifestyle is where I want Hothead to go when it comes to like gaming and stuff. And so obviously like shirts and soft goods and like that kind of stuff I think is cool. I want to get like really weird with it. So like something I'm like thinking about making are like you know those like milk glass like coffee mug. They're like the kind of like they're usually like that kind of like green like specific they're like a specific type of glove. Anyway, I want to make like these mugs that say paint water on them, you know? Like I want to make uh stuff that we would use outside of the hobby as well as in the hobby. I think like finding that crossover is really interesting. So like another thing I'm working on with some people is like an incense burner, but it's 28 millimeter scale. So you can use it at the table, you know?
Nice.
So like this weird stuff that your mom could like use, but also like you could use, and finding like where those crossovers meet and creating stuff that allows us to immerse ourselves more in our hobby without like having to buy like an ampersand shirt or something, you know, like stuff that's like kind of like gaming coded, but isn't like a dice bag, you know, which
Mm.
is like we have enough dice bags. Like I don't need more dice bags. You know?
Yeah. No,
So
that's
yeah,
great. I mean, that's great, especially because we're all fucking old. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
and getting
yeah,
older, and being able to have something that can be a little bit normy and not have like your entire personality plastered on like your walls and plates and everything, but it is a cool
yeah,
thing to have. I mean, anime
yeah,
shirts and stuff. I think the best brands to do that are ones that do like cool designs that aren't just here's a shot from the fucking anime. And
yeah,
you're that link that you're just talking about. You just cost me so much money. There is
yeah, yeah.
so
Have
much
fun
stuff
with
on
that,
there that
bro.
I'm buying now.
I find it so funny. Nobody knows about Branded, but they're like probably the coolest like gaming hobby brand I think on the internet. Like you have like, yeah, I don't want to throw names out, but there's just stuff where they like are trying to be that, but their like taste is just off. It's just not it, you know. I think like some of the coolest stuff that's happening are like bootleg tees. Like I have like a Mordheim bootleg shirt on right now. Like the
Mm,
people who are doing like bootleg stuff is really sick. And onto your like anime and stuff, there's like some cool brands who are just like dudes screen printing in their garage, like bootleg, like Evangelion and stuff, like tees that are they design and look like really sick. And you wouldn't necessarily know that it's like about that thing, but they make like a sick, like different version of a bootleg of it. That stuff is like so sick. And I want to bring
uh,
that energy like into this stuff.
that is, I mean, I got a bolt thrower shirt that fucking slaps.
Yeah.
That was some bootleg thing, $1 Billion
Yeah.
Clown Farm stuff that they were
Oh,
doing
yeah,
with
yeah,
like
yeah.
the
Yeah.
fucking white monster. I got that. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly the best shit, you know.
Oh, the best,
Um,
dude.
and uh and yeah, I mean, do it because I'll buy all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And come on and talk about it. But that's awesome, and that's what the space it needs. We
Mm,
it just to rant about capitalism for 30 seconds. It fucking sucks,
yeah.
and it fucks us all. We
Yeah.
lost so much, like even just the physical. Even when you get a fucking video game, you used to be able to crack it open and pull the little booklet out and
Yeah.
actually learn some
Yeah.
shit in there. We don't have
Yeah.
that. We don't own the things that we own anymore. So being able to have a dope
Mhm.
physical magazine, being able to have like a sweet shirt, made by people whose stuff that you enjoy, it's important. And it's important to be able to, I mean, we're getting into a whole like anthropological thing about it, but to be able to code yourself in a
Yeah.
way that you want to be perceived, and not just for stream or on the internet, is really important. So I love what you're doing, because that is such a great way to be able to do the things that we used to do, because I'm pretty sure I'm older than you by a couple of years at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
um and I miss all of that nostalgic stuff from the 90s, when we had the exact same stuff that you're talking about as just part and parcel. Like
Yeah.
that was the culture, that was society, that was everything.
I mean, talking about like how I mentioned like RuneScape when I was growing up, one of the things I carried like everywhere was this like book that was like the unofficial guide to RuneScape, and it like was like told you how to do all of this stuff in the game. I think another example is like in like Game Informers and stuff, there were like cheat codes, and you could buy the books that were just full of cheat codes for like your favorite games, and it's like guides to games and stuff like that. Like now you just go to like Fextra Life or whatever and just look up the guide to how to do like all of the shit, and then you never actually play the game. You just follow the like optimal choices until you like finish in the right ending you were hoping for. And yeah, I think like that would be
This is
really
why
fun.
5e is
Even
popular. Anyway, keep
yeah,
going.
oh yeah, but it'd be fun to even bring back like that side of it of like a book about like I don't know, Valorant's kind of not the vibe, but like maybe there's like a cool thing where you make like an unofficial guide to like Caves of Cud or something, or like, you know, these cool games like Dwarf Forge, these like different games that are like more independent and interesting, and put out like books about these things where you can kind of consume that content from like a different angle and talk about like the book with a friend or whatever, instead of just like finding all the stuff online and like never actually I feel like we don't actually engage with games and stuff anymore like the way that we used to. I think like I mean, now that I've mentioned like the fact that we just like look up guides for everything, I'm getting like frustrated because I feel like with like MMORPGs or basically any game now, you look up builds, right? Like Elden Ring, you look up a build that tells you what to do, and then you do the build in the game, and then you beat all the bosses with the build, and then that's like the game, right? Where like what happened to just like not looking up anything, playing the game, picking up the cool sword that you think is cool, and you put your skill points in like the shitty skills because you don't know any better, and then you like make it through just like playing with the systems in the game instead of just like preemptively like beating the game via the internet. I don't know. It's just like it's so different, and I don't know how we go back to that. It's like the cat's out of the bag, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, God, that's so deep across so much of society right now, and just the way we've been fucked for the last, 35 years. But a lot of it just comes down to wanting to make sure that the exorbitant amount of money that you paid for is worth it. So you want to beat the game. I think that
Yeah.
saying that you beat something has become much more popular than the journey of beating it yourself. In the
Yeah.
same way that taking pictures and posting on the internet. I watched this whole thing the other day about where we get our brain chemicals from. And it used to be from
Mhm.
experiencing a thing. And now those same chemicals aren't released when they experience it. It's released when you share it. So our entire way that we perceive and translate the world has completely changed. So being able
Yeah.
to sit down and enjoy the journey, attention spans are too short. I think people's emotional depth is shallow as a fucking puddle. I think people are afraid to feel, and everything is cringe, and actually
Yeah.
getting like deep within your own emotions is not a thing that people do anymore. Everything is surface level. So why not just do the surface level of the game? Why are you trying to scratch anything more than just like the tiny itch and say that, okay, I beat Elden Ring, but like you said, like, did you experience when I played Skyrim? I'll tell you what, I put like fucking 1,000 hours into that game, and I walked across every inch of that ground multiple times. I wasn't
Yeah.
trying to find the easiest, quickest way. But I think if that game came out now, exactly what happened is what you're talking about. People would find like the main 5 quest lines, pick the one they want to do, look up the guide for it, go exactly where they're supposed to, and then say, boom, I beat Skyrim in 20 hours. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
Merritt K in her LAN parties article kind of blew my mind with a point she makes about how like back in the day when you'd play like Call of Duty or Halo with your friends, where everybody would come over and you'd all get around the console and play like four-way split screen of like whatever, right? And you'd play, and your only frame of reference for how good you were was like amongst your friends on the console. And like there wasn't like a meta progression of your like ranking on a leaderboard, right? It was literally just you and your friends, and you just play with your friends, right? Now, if you play like any battle royale or whatever, you can see like a level going up every time you play, and you're incentivized to be incredibly good at the game, right? You're incentivized to like play aim trainers and all of this kind of stuff, and you grind, right? Like you are incentivized to go on this game, not to have fun. Maybe it's fun to you, but like your incentive, like the fun is a side effect, right? You're incentivized to get better. So your number goes up, right? And I think that same thing happens with what you're talking about, where we're no longer incentivized to have fun at our hobbies. We're incentivized to be good at our hobbies. And it's like, that just oh dude, it's crazy, like the fact that people feel like they need to be good DMs in comparison to what they're reading on blogs and stuff, right? The fact that people feel like their miniatures that they're painting have to look like the miniatures that they're seeing trending on Instagram, it's insane. Like, you don't have to be good at your hobbies. Like, that's not what a hobby is. You don't have to be good at it. And like, that's even been a thing for me rewiring my brain, where I'm like starting to get more into painting minis and stuff and being into that. And it's like, oh yeah, I don't have to share this on the 7 Discord servers in their like mini channel to have people be like, wow, click, click, like heart, 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 heart. Or I don't have to feel bad when the miniatures I'm painting like kind of suck and don't look like what the dude's doing, because I am spending all my time looking up YouTube videos on how to do the right wash to get the right effect, to get it to look like grimdark and like this and look a certain way. When what I should be doing is just painting my fucking minis in a way that I like and think is fun. Like, I like dipping them in the paint and wiping it all off, and like I could just be having fun. But no, like, we need to look a certain way to the people we look up to. And oh, dude, it's just across it all. It's crazy. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No, our
Yeah.
validation is external, not internal, and it used to be
Yeah.
completely flipped. I mean, I got a bunch of notes that I say, but online play ruined video games. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
for
what
the
she
exact
says in
same
her article.
reason,
Yeah.
that you're talking about, and like Twitch is the same thing. We're watching pros, so kids want to be pros. So yeah, they grind at a fucking game like Apex, which sucks. And just try to do that forever. And again, stop having fun. I stopped playing when I stopped having fun. Why do you think
Yeah.
AI is so big right now, aside from the fact that a lot of people just suck? But what you hear a lot is people thinking that you have to, like, I'm not fucking Picasso the first time I put pen to paper, so I might as well just feed it into a machine that can do the thing that I want, instead of understanding that doing the work is the fun, doing the work is the point, writing the thing and how it makes you feel, drawing the thing and how it makes you feel is the fucking point. It is the journey. It is the friends we make along the way. That's not just a fucking meme. And with the paint thing, I felt the exact same way when I started. I was an art major in college, so when I started painting, I was going hard, fucking OSL and fucking the non-metallic metals and the light and everything.
Yeah.
When I started dipping into the grimdark is when I was like, ooh, I can free myself a little bit. I can just slap a base color and some fucking villainy ink on this thing, and it looks grimy and gross. So it's super freeing to be able to do that. But like I said, a lot of it comes down to just our dopamine hits. Our validation is now external versus internal, and it sucks. It's not good for you. Like, it's not. Like, they study after study after study says, like, that's just not fucking good for you. And the mass, man, we'll have a private conversation on how I feel about some other stuff. But yeah, like, feeling that every moment of your day has to be monetized, which is part of that, but also part of the economy that we exist in right now, where it's just like, if I'm not making money, that's food off my table right now, is really, really disheartening. So yeah, everything sucks, except Glaive, which goes hard.
Which, like, I don't know, is there like an irony to talking about this while I make a product that is sold for money? Like, I like to think that they're different, and I think, like, we're still exploring, even talking right now about like the kind of like products I want to make, about like bringing our hobby into our everyday life. Like, I'd like to think those are different forms of consumption and it's a healthier version, but I think only through exploring will we figure out if that's like true. um I don't know, it's one of those things that I think is still something to think about and look at.
Well, the important thing is to continue to think about it and look at it. We talked about it a little bit earlier, whereas if you're making a thing because you enjoy making a thing, and then you sell it to people that will enjoy consuming that thing, is a very different thing than making a thing with this express intent to sell. Because that whole thing we just talked about, that internal validation, that desire to connect with what you're making and how other people connect to it, is the difference. As long as you're still making the thing that you want to make the way you want to make it, and you happen to be selling it, again, so different than making a thing to sell. You can see it in even game designers and stuff, and the stuff they put out. You can see early projects versus late projects, and as soon as you see DCC starting to sell 5e stuff, you're like, well, gotta back a couple less Kickstarters now. Like, there's a time when that switch flips, and it becomes about the, you know, the capitalism and the marketing and the money, and it becomes less about the hobby. That's when, you know,
Yeah.
it's certainly going to suck. But like you said, as long as you continue to question it, I think Glaive will be in a good spot, you know?
Yeah, and I think like you're saying, it's like it's interesting because it's like obvious. Like you can tell when something's like one versus the other, even if like in your gut, right? Even if you're not like necessarily sure what's going on, you can like tell when it's like genuine, authentic, real, and it's a Kickstarter that knows they're gonna get their, you know, XYZ in a certain amount of time, right? It's like it's obvious. Um, yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting to think about too, because it's just like, you know, especially heartbreaking because it's like just absolutely devastated like the OSR and indie space. I feel like in TTRPGs, where the whole point of all of that was like a counter to this kind of thing, and we've just kind of been swallowed up to this point where now it's just like we're, you know, you look in the mirror and you're the villain. I guess it's kind of crazy to just see it happen, but you know,
Yeah, you know, it's hard not to have opinions on the show, but it's my fucking show, so I'll say what I want.
yeah,
I don't personally think that the indie space in the current what's called the indie community right now, this group of people and bloggers and things, that is
yeah,
the indie space at all anymore. I refuse to call it
no,
that. I
yeah,
call it
yeah,
the
yeah,
small market space now. um
yeah,
because everyone that hops into it, like, here, this is my first thing that I made. It's a $10,000 Kickstarter, you know. This is the
yeah, no,
thousandth adventure for Merkborg. This is a 10,000th adventure for Mothership. The innovation
yeah,
and the indie aspect of it went away, and you know where it is? It's in the Inc. 28 scene. It's the stuff that Tanner Simpson is doing.
dude,
It's the stuff that fucking
yeah,
White Tiger Tablecraft is doing. Like, that's where the real DIY indie, I made it because it's cool, if you buy it, that's fine, kind of
hmm,
space, you know, exists now. And you can't, I mean, at the same time, you can't blame the previous space. It was a slow capitulation to capitalism, but people got to pay the fucking bills, and I understand. It just, it
yeah,
sucks, you know?
yeah. I mean, that's why Hivescum was the first feature in Glaive, because they are one of the like the leading voices in that, where like, yeah, it's really interesting too, because I feel like even people in 28 like don't know what OSR is, and it's just so interesting coming at it like being rooted in like the other side and seeing what they're doing there and being like, oh fuck yeah, this is like where this is how this started,
Yeah.
and now it's like brewing up here, and it's really, yeah, it's like really exciting to see that same energy that brought us into this space that we love so much existing in like a really close other hobby. Like I think it's crazy that like they're so separate, you know,
I'm
because
glad.
they're
I'm happy.
not, you know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 totally.
It's the
But
same
you know what I mean?
mindset to
It's
the
like,
early stuff.
yeah,
But no, dude, I have this.
yeah,
We'll have a deeper conversation about this. But I've had this conversation multiple times where, like, I'm like, Ink 28 is OSR if you get rid of the Forge. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's what the space could have been, and it's. I hope they stay separate. I hope they never cross. I'm
yeah, yeah,
glad
yeah.
that they don't have the same kind of baggage that the TTRPG space has, because it's the same
Hmm.
bullshit conversations and dead horse kicking that we're doing all the fucking time over here in this space. And
Yeah,
Ink, that space over there, can have their own thing. So I'm really hoping that there's not a big crossover. A lot of creators in the TTRPG space have been crossing over Skirmish, and I think that's great. But I really genuinely hope that those spaces don't like actually meld, because I think um it would be bad for the Ink
yeah.
28 space.
I mean, I think
But
what's,
we get to
yeah,
experience both, you know.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if Ink 28 is going to be, I don't know if this is true, but it's kind of funny. I feel like with wargaming, like you can't just buy the shit and not, well, I guess people do, but you're kind of a poser if you don't like fucking paint the minis and like do and engage with it. Like there's
Yeah.
still that feeling there where it's kind of like you're kind of cringe if you just buy the shit and like don't do anything. Like, and especially because like kit bashing and stuff is such a big thing there. It's like, oh, you bought the thing and like painted it the way it was on the box and like did the way it told you to do. No, fuck that. Like you need to cut its head off and put a dragon fucking head on it and like paint it with like artist oil paints and then like rub it all in like fucking Rust-Oleum or whatever and then like make this board. You know, there's just a lot more like expectation to engage with the
Yeah.
hobby, you know.
Well, there's a DIY aspect to it that I think that the small market space, when it used to be the indie space, had more, because people would just
Yeah,
print it in their rooms or do the layout themselves or do whatever. And again, it's become, everything is so polished that
Yeah.
you can just like reach out an artist, pay them money, you can just print it all, mix them for X amount. Like there's obviously you're writing, you're doing stuff, but the actual like DIY with your hands kind of aspect of the hobby is has slipped. And I
Mm,
think in the war game space and Ink 28 space, all this stuff, it's part and parcel. Like you can't really separate the two. Like buying the minis,
yeah.
having to put, even if you just do, I don't care if you do heavy metal and like do
Yeah. Yeah.
box art shit, you still have to get it off the screw, glue the shit together,
Sure.
and fucking paint it. So
Yeah.
there is more of a, I don't want to say investment, but like an engagement with the space
Totally.
that I'm hoping that seems to have kept it the way that it is for a long time.
Mm,
So,
mm.
but I think it is a little bit of that like over polishing in the TTRPG space that has moved it a little bit away from the DIY aspects. But
Yeah, and kind of what you mentioned too, which is interesting, is like it's almost like a second. The Ink 28 stuff is almost doing like a second uh discovery of role playing games, where like back when uh like D&D first was created, right? You had like wargaming, and you had like, the Bronsteins and David Wesley doing all that kind of stuff, and then Blackmore, and you led into like what D&D was. It's almost funny where I feel like the Ink 28 people are like wanting to be more narrative and wanting to like have smaller war bands and like have just like one mini who I'm like role playing, and but like the rules are just like skirmish rules, right? So there's not like charisma and shit like that. I'm just role playing my little like inquisitor. And now we're like, we've got these cool scenario like campaign play rules for having a long form campaign. And it's like, oh, they're just literally like rediscovering role playing games. uh like it's just, it's such a funny parallel, and it's just so sick though, because it's coming from this like flavor of Ink 28 Grimdark. But like you mentioned Tanner Simpson with like his wanted CC
Workock
40,000 or whatever.
baby, yeah.
Yeah, dude, like that is like, you're kind of having that like first hit of like, wait, this is a role-playing game, but he's talking about it being a skirmish game. Like, but it's not. It's like now we're crossing this thing, and it's just like so sick to be like, oh wait, we're just doing this all over again, but from like a really sick other side.
Which I love, which I think is going to be a really good
Yeah.
base for it, because every time I find someone's dope ass skirmish shit, right, I find their itch, and like Miscast has a bunch of RPG shit on their
Oh
itch,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
just like, Miscast is fucking Miscast, but like of course
Yeah.
they do, because that's what it is. And I
Mhm.
personally, I like the emergent narrative aspects of skirmish. That is where my brain
Oh
is
yeah.
going, like way more than anything happening in the theory space in the role playing in role playing games, because I've always liked emergent narrative. It's one of the reasons that we're such big Adam Bass fans here on the show. Like they just give
Mhm.
you the tools and then you play with it versus being told how to play with your toys. And
Yeah.
everything they do is, and especially with the way Hypescum is pushing the entire community to be more narrative, and who gives a fuck if you're half an inch off, if the story beat is cooler, and with
Yeah.
Mordheim and Inquisitor and all the rest of this stuff, being able to play. That's exactly what I want to do when I play my skirmish games. Is I role
Mhm.
play, but I like being able to peel, like just zoom out once, where I'm not role playing one dude and looking for a story. I'm watching my five dudes go into a game not knowing who they are, and through their roles being like, well, this guy missed a bunch, he sucks, this guy hit when it was important, so now I know like he's the go-to, he's the one that's like getting ragged on, like these the
Yeah.
story emerges. That's why not battle passes. Battle reports exist. Being able to tell the story of what happened,
Yeah.
not writing a story before you play and then seeing what happens. Like
And being
it's
like, oh, you made this like ritual like fountain or something that you placed on the map just for fun, but like what happens when I like kill a unit on the ritual fountain or something? Like there's no rules for what happens, you just like agree that like something happens based on the fiction. And it's like we kind of, this is gonna, I don't know how much time we have, but we kind of mentioned when we were at PAX like the like OSR to FKR thing, and how, and that's like also happening there, where I feel like a lot of us in like the OSR space are like trying to devolve back to like this FKR like pre-Gygax thing where like there aren't really rules and you play the world, and you know the Ink 28 thing is starting to evolve to this thing where it's like, oh, now I can like pretend to be that dude and we can watch like the world result in emergent narrative, because I'm 100% with you. Like I have zero interest in certain styles of like RPG play that put the onus on me to determine what happens in the game, right? Like I want to just make decisions, and I want my decisions based on the like laws of the world I'm playing in to determine outcomes that I would like never expect, you know? And so in a similar vein of what you're talking about, it's like I don't want to give this person, you know, X, Y. I mean, okay, personality and stuff is fine, but I don't want to like decide what's going to happen to this dude. I want him to miss like 7 shots and that determine what happens to this dude, right? Or how I look at this dude or whatever. Which I think is, yeah, it's like you kind of were showing. It's like this funny connection where we're both like hitting on this thing. It's
Yeah.
so fascinating. Yeah.
It's weird kind of Benjamin buttoning going in opposite
Yeah.
directions with everything. And at the end of the day, guess what? Fucking OD&D was a war game, baby. Like
No, totally.
Like, I mean, not that Gygax is a person that you should listen to at all about fucking anything.
Yeah.
But they straight up said, like, basically that role playing, this isn't a game the fucking role player like to do what we're doing now, acting and improvising and all that kind of stuff. Because if you actually look at the OSR is built on a fucking bed of lies. People did not play the game that way. There was like 10 people and like 20 hirelings with like mobs of people going through dungeons and stuff. That's a reason Tomb of Horrors is like it is, because you're gonna have 15 guys go through it. The OSR is anything but the old school revival. But the emergent narrative, it, like I said, is I don't know, that's the fun parts. That's the cool bits. And that's why I'm especially here on the show been trying to push more into the skirmish space and show people more of kind of that aspect of what's going on. It's also a lot of times you only need one other person. It's a lot easier than trying to get 4 people together for a weekly fucking game if you just want to sit down and bust out one game to kill team or something.
I mean, we talk about a lot in the OSR space of like being a referee and not like, you know, a GM or whatever, right? Where like these games are so much that you literally don't even need somebody to run the game. Like the rules only, you know, give you like, you know, I roll this to see if I hit you or not. You literally don't even need like a person to paint the world for you, because you both like know how this works, and we can, like you said, just me and you, we can figure out what the story is by having this dude like fall off the top of a building or something, because that's what the role said, you know. I
mean, it's just it's and it also comes down to like wanting to play games that feel like games. Like there's definitely you know, a lot more game styles that exist out there, but kind of like the 2 big ones in the small market space are really like OSR and story games. And OSR is just such a genericized, bastardized term that means fucking nothing. But it's basically, if you have dice and it's roughly Dungeons and Dragons ish, you can call it OSR. Because OSR died in 2019. Don't even get me started. But
I would even argue if it looks like Morkborg, you can call it OSR.
Oh, it is, because like, Morkborg is like, at the end of the day basically a fucking Knave hack. Yeah. No,
it's like
But what was I saying? Where was I going? I got lost.
You were saying that you can call anything OSR. You just have to like roll
OSR
dice.
Story games, right?
Yeah,
and the
story
big
games.
Difference really at the end of the day is, don't even get me started on so much stuff that I want to say. I'll talk to you about it afterwards. But there's just there's more than just those styles of play. But one, I think I like games that feel like games, and a lot of story games, to me, one of the reasons I don't lean into that kind of space is it more than not, to me, feels just like a series of prompts. Like I don't want a game of just improv prompts to role play. To me, the game is the game, and I think with a lot of story games, it feels like the role playing is the game, and that is a very valid way to have fun, and I think a lot of people really enjoy that. That's not the fun that I enjoy. I'm a systems guy. I like the mechanics. So having narrative skirmish where I can have the emergent story of my guys, but also interact with the mechanics in a way that is meant to be the mechanics versus like wanting them to get out of the way or this or that, you know, don't even get started on blades. But that's, I want my games to feel like games, you know, like that's how I feel.
I think, I mean, I think like the the only problem with story games is that we call them RPGs. Like that's the only problem, right? Like
I mean, they
I
are role
think
playing games.
yeah, but I mean, then maybe we have to call what we're doing something different. Cause like I think like I played 10 Candles actually over PAX like at that night, right? But 10 Candles is just a prompt game, right? Like
Yeah.
it's a story game, right? And so like and it was really fun. But like it's not what we're doing in this other side of the hop. Like they're not the same thing, but we call them the same thing. So you get these like issues where people are like, you're not playing an RPG. Like, I don't know. They're like the feud between like story gamers and OSR or whatever. I think it's just like a matter of the fact that we're pretending like we're both talking about a sandwich, but like one's a burrito and one's like a fucking
Oh,
Philly cheesesteak or something. Like it's just
I'll
not.
push back on that a little bit. I think so. Video games, for example, there's a huge
Yeah,
difference between, let's say, a roguelike and like a Soulsborne or like a
sure.
Metroidvania, right? And a Metroidvania and
Yeah,
a roguelike, especially if you have like an isometric roguelike versus a
yeah,
side-scrolling
yeah, yeah.
Metroidvania, they're both video games, right? But they are
Right, right,
incredibly
right,
different games. The
right, right,
issue
right.
that I find often that I bounce off of and get angry about is the way people talk about them because you're not
Yeah,
you're always going to find douchebags everywhere, but you don't see Metroidvania people often telling people that their isometric roguelite is wrong, right?
right,
That
right.
it's not a real video game, that that's not how it's supposed to be played and stuff. You see that all the fucking time in the TTRPG space, where you have
Yeah.
someone come out with this new fucking blog post that basically says the OSR is wrong, the OSR is always wrong, or this or that, and story games is the right way to play, and your fun is wrong. Like
Hmm.
that, I think is the issue more than anything, is that we had these delineations for a reason, and if people stayed in their own fucking lane and stopped speaking from a place of authority
Yeah.
when they're not talking about what they're talking about. Like, I feel like what I get a lot, and I relate it to music a bunch, is someone who only listens to fucking pop music, right? Complaining that why is there like thrash metal guitar in my music? And it's like, well, because that's not
Yeah.
your music, you know. And that's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
issue that
Yeah.
I see in the space a lot, is people that try to, like, you clearly only play story games, but then all you write about is bitching about why OSR is bad and vice versa. Um, and I mean, I think you see that more from the OSR space on other stuff. But I think that's the issue to me, is that people
Mhm.
we don't have a centralized language. People call the same thing. The number of times I've seen people arguing and they're making the same fucking point, but they're using different language for it, so they think that
Yeah.
they're wrong is different. And the inability for people to kind of like stay in their lane and talk about what they want to talk about versus the things that they and what they like versus the things that they don't like about the things that aren't part of their hobby is, in my opinion, like the bigger problem that we have in like the thoughts in the TTRPG space. It's not that separation, it's the way that we talk across those lines. But
You
that's just
said
my thoughts.
more elegantly what I was
Yeah.
trying to say. But yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Totally. Sorry for those watching. When we met at PAX, I knew the conversation was going to go like this, and this is what I wanted the conversation to be.
yeah.
So we're not really talking about Glaive, but
We're just talking,
I
man.
mean, we talked about Glaive. I just wanted to talk about this kind of stuff because I agree. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Because like if you like start from the OSR side, you kind of are like told to not like story games, right? Like
Mm.
it's kind of like it's like the general consensus is that they're doing it wrong. But then maybe you like play a game and you're like, wait, but this was actually like kind of fun. Am I not allowed to have fun by like pretending,
Yeah.
building a story with my friends? But
It was also so weird too
yeah,
because I'm not a PBTA person.
yeah. I'm
I've
not
talked about
either.
that
Yeah, I'm
thoroughly
not
on this
either.
board, but I'll say that Apocalypse World's like GM section, bro, they're
Yeah,
telling you to play an OSR game too. You know what I mean? Like that's what
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
understand, is if people could just be happy like pulling the bits they like from story games and OSR and vice versa, or pulling the bits they like from board games and pulling the bits they like from video games. But a lot of
Mhm.
the TTRPG space is like, this is my space. It has to be done the way that I want to. I'm not going to get inspired by other
Yeah.
people, and I'm going to complain about the other spaces that they're doing it wrong because it's not the way my brain works. It's rules allied, exacerbated across an entire fucking space. Like this is an article. Whether I agree or disagree with Sinclair, they literally say right at the beginning, "This is how my brain works," and you're probably going to disagree. And then people got mad and disagreed, and it's like they
Yeah.
said right off the bat, like I can
Yeah. Yeah.
disagree and not be mad at them for what they said, but people were
Yeah.
mad, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
just weird. It is what it is.
Totally. Totally.
Um, so we're we're over by a while, and I feel like if we keep going, this conversation can go for the rest of the day. So
Yeah,
why don't we wrap here, and we're definitely going to have you back. I know we talked a little bit about
sure.
something. I'll talk to you after the show about another episode I'd love to have your opinions on. Um,
Hmm.
but for those that don't see the website on the screen right now, where or Glaive or anything, where can people find you? Where can people find your stuff? Where can people find Glaive and everything we talked about today?
Yeah. So Hothead Collective, you can go to the website. Instagram is like the only social media I'm really like doing anything on. I think there's like a Twitter account, but I don't do anything on it. So at Hothead, I believe it's at Hothead underscore collective on Instagram. Um, that's like probably to keep up. I mean, I guess I don't really post on my personal, but you can follow it if you want. Sometimes I'll post up there. It's at CJ Somedays. Is me as like CJ a person, but everything else is Hothead Collective. So there's the website. There's the Instagram. We have a Discord server. I want to do more there. But it's just like figuring out what that looks like at the moment. Something we didn't talk about is like what I want to start having this be as well as like events. I want to start hosting events in the city, and I want to see what like cool events online can be that are different than maybe what we're like already doing. So I want to explore that. So the Discord server, if you're like at all interested in that, I don't know how soon that is, but maybe like movie watch parties. I don't know, stuff online, trying to build that third space on Discord that's more than just like yelling at each other in like a channel. So yeah, so the website, the Discord, the Instagram, those are the three spots I would say if you're trying to keep up with what's going on.
Cool. Sick. And again, it's the fucking internet. So just scroll
Yeah.
down a little bit, and you'll find all the links to that if you're listening, whether you're on podcast or on the YouTubes. But listen, so great talking to you. I like you said, the second we met and three sentences in, I was like, all right, this is a homie now. Like this is someone who thinks in the same realm of thought and enjoys the same kind of shit. And I love what you're doing. I really, all I can say is keep fucking doing it. Like I'm getting number 3. I've already got the fucking shirt. Like drop the merch and I'll get that too. And please come back anytime you fucking want. Every time you drop an issue, like please come back and we can have some more conversations. But it's been great chatting with you.
Thank you, brother. 1,000%. I'm down. We can talk about anything and everything. Just
Cool.
send me a DM. I'm ready.
Yeah. We'll see what we're going to get yelled on the internet for next time.
Beautiful.
So yeah, once again, thank you so much. And thank you for everyone that was here watching, and we'll see you next time, everybody. Bye.
Peace.